Welcome everyone. So I saw here a comment on one of my videos that disappeared. I don't know if the commenter took it down or if YouTube took it down. But it's a question from someone, Henri, asked. Might be a bit unrelated, but I'm curious what you make of people like Ben Gvir and Smotrich. In the last couple of years, and since the breakout of the current war, we've seen a big uptake in support for these people. Do you think it's acceptable that so many Jews who consider themselves religious support genocidal movements like Otzma Yehudit and Kahanism? I don't know anything about Otzma Yehudit, although I heard that it was more of a libertarian movement in Israel. I do not consider Kahanism to be genocidal. I disagree with Kahanism, but respectfully so, just like he respectfully agreed with the position that I take. Now, I think there are people who call themselves Kahanists who are just, hoodlums and hooligans. And, I remember those guys. I remember, sometimes they might wear a black hat or something else. Most of them don't. But as far as Meir Kahane himself, well, he wasn't a Gadol Batorah. He wasn't a great rabbinical leader. He had leadership qualities, and he was a pious, learned Jew and a rabbi. He was a Rav and a Rosh Yeshiva, just like, so he had authority in his own local community, wherever he served. And, he himself recognized that the anti-Zionist stance is just as kosher as his own stance. Now, I appreciate that you didn't use the term racist here, because Meir Kahane was not a racist. Although I know left-wing Israelis like to redefine words. They take oligarchy and call it democracy. And they take something that's not racism and they call it racism. Gezanut is how they call racism in Israel, when they themselves are the racists, the leftists. They're the ones who believe in Gezanut, and the secularists are the real racists, and and so too they say demokratia when they're talking about, I guess, oligarchia. So, what's my proof that Meir Kahane was not a racist? He himself, he had a very clear explanation why he's not a racist. He always said that if Arafat converted to Judaism tomorrow, he would be just as Jewish as Kahane. And so to all the people in Gaza, if they would convert to Judaism tomorrow or today, they would be just as Jewish as any other Jew. Maybe even more so. And the same thing, and again, I'm not a Lubavitcher Chassid, but Lubavitcher Rebbe would always tell a Ger Tzedek, you're just as Jewish as me. So, that's clearly not Gezanut. That's not racism. That's not about your ancestry. It's about your beliefs and your way of life. So, conversion to Judaism would indicate that someone gives up the evils that Hamas is pushing. which are murder, and it's one of the 10 Commandments is thou shalt not murder. And Hamas is a murderous cult. And so, of course, the greatest thing would be for them to convert and follow Torah, or even not convert, even just live up to basic Islam. Over the holiday, I received a text that I opened when the holiday ended from a very prominent imam who was apologizing for the evil that Hamas was doing and saying that this is not Islam. And it's against the Sharia to act like that, to murder innocent women and children. So again, I don't know anything about Otzma Yehudit. I don't know anything about Ben Gvir or Smotrich. But I know about Meir Kahane. I grew up on Meir Kahane. I don't agree with him anymore. I used to be a big Kahane guy. But I believe that there should not be a Jewish state. I believe that the best thing for Israel would be to have not really a one-state solution, but a solution of federalism, I think is what would work best, which within that federalist system on a local, state level, there could be Jewish forms of government, but not on the federal level. Just like how in the United States, until 1947, the states were allowed to, until the Supreme Court made up this nonsense, interpreting the Constitution in a way that it's not written, making the Establishment Clause apply to the states, which it never was intended to do. The states are supposed to make their own constitutions and decide, and they all did eventually. To accept the Establishment Clause, and I am against established religion unless you have a true theocracy, which would require a prophet to be there. And since prophecy is gone, and we don't even have a Sanhedrin, we have to wait for Elijah the prophet to come. And so that's why I disagree with Meir Kahane, because he wanted to make the Rambam's Hilchos Melachim into the law of the Israeli government. He also wanted to make his own state. He said if the Palestinians can ask for a Palestinian state, why can't he ask on that land the state of Judea? And he was trying to make his own sovereign state of Judea. I don't believe in Jewish sovereignty in this time in history. I think you need a prophet to establish a commonwealth, as happened in both the first and second Commonwealth, that there were prophets. And if you read the Rambam carefully, and certainly Rashi and the other were shown him that hold like that you need an actual prophetic mandate, and not only prophetic, but also the true Masorahs of a lot of things. Like Elijah the prophet will have a Masorah, not in a prophetic, supernatural way, but in a very natural way, which is the biggest reason why we need Elijah the prophet to return openly. Although he's been hanging around, but to return in an open way that's prophesied in the book of Malachi. But the truth is, Meir Kahane didn't say all the Muslims have to convert to Judaism. He said that if Arafat converted tomorrow, they would be just as Jewish as Kahane. But he didn't say they have to convert. He didn't even say they have to leave if they don't convert. His belief, though, was that, based on Maimonides, that a non-Jew may not have any government power in Eretz Yisrael, but they may have religious freedom. And the way he understood, I don't know where I left off, but I was saying that Meir Kahane not only didn't believe that all Muslims have to leave, he did not believe they have to convert to Judaism. He didn't even say that they have to accept the Jewish faith and be Noahides in the sense of the modern Noahide movement. He understood Islam to be a Noahide type religion, that it's not idolatrous. And so if they live just like the Druzim, the same way, they keep to themselves, they do their thing. And he said that Muslims should have religious freedom in Eretz Yisrael. He just didn't feel that they should have any government authority. I feel, though, we're in exile and it's not for us to decide something like that. And so therefore, that's why I disagree with Meir Kahane. I think it is okay to have Muslims and Christians in the Knesset, and that Israel should not identify itself as a Jewish state, but rather a state where Judaism and other monotheistic religions are encouraged, and perhaps it might have a Jewish majority and have, I would say, similar to how things operate in America, where Sunday is the day that the post offices are closed. It could be more or less culturally Jewish in the sense that Saturday, as they have it now in Israel, that Saturday is the day the post offices are closed, and just like Christmas is a national holiday, so too Yom Kippur and so forth could be national holidays. I don't have a problem with that. However, I don't necessarily think that the Rabbanut should be a government force. I think that the Rabbanut should be privatized. I'm not calling for the dismantlement of the Rabbanut, but rather the privatization of the Rabbanut. But again, it's none of my business because I'm not Israeli, I'm American. And so I very much adopt Rav Soloveitchik's approach that if you don't live there, it's none of your business what they do. And that's how I really feel. It's really none of my business. Let them do what they want. But I think if you are going to have a Jewish state, well then the Kahanist approach is going to be the real way to do it. More or less. The only problem with it is, how do you decide which opinions to follow when we have different opinions on certain things? And so, they've done things the right way, that they have a Sephardic chief rabbi, Ashkenazic chief rabbi. There's a lot of wisdom in that. So it's it's rather complicated, it's but like I said, I don't believe Meir Kahane to have been a racist. I think that's to me a very clear thing. And again, I think he's wrong about Zionism, and I think he was also intellectually dishonest. I remember, on one hand, he was intellectually honest, that he recognized that the Satmar are just as kosher as he is, and so the religious anti-Zionist Orthodox position is just as kosher as the religious Zionist position, the religious non-Zionist position. The only thing that he very strongly opposed were the members, not all of them, the Torah Karta, but the ones who would march together with terrorists And I don't think, and I think it's important though for us to have dialogue with Arabs and Muslims and Christians, and try to build bridges, and that's how we stop a lot of these problems. I think, a lot of the otherness that exists, whether in the Haredi community or the modern Orthodox community or even the secular Jewish community, that others, non-Jews, is wrong, and it's also to our detriment. There's the story of the Blusheva Rebbe, who, the way he was saved from the Holocaust was because when he was online, and he was gonna, they're gonna decide who lives and who dies. The man deciding his fate was his old neighbor, who he used to greet every morning with a pleasant smile, maybe have a little conversation with him. And when he got there, he recognized him even without the beard. And this Nazi, he saw him. He said, "Hey, Rabbi, what are you doing here? You don't belong here. You're going to live." And the problem is, we're at a stage right now where it's very difficult to do those types of things, certainly in Gaza and these types of places, with the level of depravity and evil that's grown there, and that's being done in the name of Islam, which is a very pro-Jewish religion. All of the criticisms that the Quran has against Jews is for not keeping Judaism. A lot of people say, "Oh, the Quran says that Jews are pigs and monkeys and this and that." It's not saying that about all Jews. It's saying that about Jews who don't keep Shabbat. Who don't keep Judaism. The Quran, even though it has things that are wrong, according to our traditions and according to our scriptures, and we disagree with them and they disagree with us, there are things that we can agree to disagree on. And we can live in peace. And for the most part, like I said, the Quran is a very pro-Torah, pro-Judaism document. And yet, certain extremists find texts that they take out of context. And like I said, the Imam said to me, that attacking innocent women and children is absolutely prohibited in the Sharia and in the Sunnah. And and in the Quran itself. And it's important for us to have these dialogues, but it's very difficult for us to make these dialogues right now. And when we're dealing with murderers, thugs, terrorists, worse than terrorists. Because, a terrorist, usually terrorism has a goal of changing something politically. The goal of Hamas is to kill Jews. Now, I believe very strongly, though, as it says in the Bible, that these are all tools in God's hand to wake us up, to bring us back. Asher Shevet Api. Assyria is the rod of my indignation. But that doesn't mean that you have to go and volunteer to be a rod of indignation. You should be you should want to live in peace. You shouldn't be filled with hatred and bloodthirstiness. It's not right. And I think it was Goldie Mayer Meyerson was her real name, who said that she could never forgive the Arabs for making them enemies. We should be friends, but they're not making it very easy for us. And there's no place for us to be mourning them. We have to mourn our own losses. And so when you see these leftists who want to, who make moral equivalencies, there's zero moral equivalency. And someone was pointing out, Hamas, they do a lot of charitable work and so forth. They should know better. They know that they're violating their own religion. They know what their texts say. They know they're not allowed to do this. But someone goes and tells them, it's okay. It's not right, and they have to pay for that. But again, I don't know anything about the current Ben Gvir and Smotrich. I know that Mayor Kahane never thought an Arab would kill him, and I personally think most likely the Israelis paid for the Arab that did kill him. He thought, as they threatened him, that he was going to be just like Professor Dahan, who was murdered by the Zionists for opposing Zionism. But this is not the time to talk about these things. This is the time to be united, to pray for the Jews in the Holy Land, to pray for peace, to look at ourselves and repent. Not for us to go tell the secular they have to repent. We have to ourselves look into our hearts and find a means to repent and to be better. We just hope and pray that, and the thing is, even Kahane also was not genocidal. He said the first choice is peace. If you reject that, then you leave. If you reject that, we have no choice but to go to war. Israel has extended the olive branch many, many times. I always say the victims of Zionism are the Jews, not the Palestinians, the so-called Palestinians. The Jordanians and Egyptians who moved to Eretz Yisrael to work for the Jews because there were good jobs in Eretz Yisrael. And then in the 1960s, all of a sudden, they started calling themselves Palestinians. Arafat himself was Egyptian. So, and if there really would be peace, go ahead, let's make peace. Let's live in peace. They don't want peace. They don't want peace. I'm sure there are many good, independent, fair-minded Palestinians who are, people call themselves Palestinians, just like the Jews in Eretz Yisrael start calling themselves Israelis. It's also a fake name, right? I mean, all right, Israelim, but I'm saying to say in English Israeli instead of Israelite, it's making a statement that they're Jews and they're Arabs, not Israelis and Palestinians. And the truth is, Israeli means all Israelis, the Christian Israelis and the Muslim Israelis. But now it became popular to call it Israeli Arabs, Palestinians instead of Israel. I always heard them called Israeli Arabs, and Israeli Arabs live better than any Arabs in the Middle East. Working class Arabs in the Middle East, other than like the big wealthy sheiks. except maybe in Dubai. And that's a very new thing in Dubai. So but Israel, as much as I oppose Zionism from a religious standpoint, I am supporting Israel here. Israel is in their right. Israel is the most ethical army in the world. Israel and America, the most ethical armies. They bend over backwards not to attack civilians. Netanyahu is begging the civilians in Gaza to leave, and it's Hamas and the Egyptians who are preventing them from doing so. But they need to face the consequences for this evil that they did. This is totally right and proper for Israel to defend itself against the terrorists. But there has to be a movement within the Palestinian ranks to really want peace, to just really want to live, and not to and the problem is that the leadership of the Palestinians have always been corrupt, and that's why they turn to Hamas, because Hamas is less corrupt than Fatah. I don't know if all the people who voted for Hamas support all of the evil of Hamas, but they voted for them because like you know, they put on a good show. But this is evil. I mean, Hugh Hewitt said it very strongly. He said 9/11, as clearly evil as it was a faceless evil. This is how you stare someone in the face and just act cruelly and violently in hand-to-hand attacks against innocent women and children and elderly people. What's going to be? So we need peace, but Israel needs to teach them a lesson. There's no other thing I can say. They can't do this. This is not a way for anyone in modern civilized society to act, to attack people in such a cruel and sadistic way. There's no excuse for it. There's no justification for it. There's nothing that Israel ever did to the Palestinians that deserves this. It's just cruel, evil hatred on the side of the evil Hamas terrorists, murderers. I don't call them animals because I don't want to insult the animals. These are people using the gift of free will that God gave them to do evil. Of course, we believe in divine providence, that this was God's will that we don't understand, and we say blessed is the true judge. That doesn't mean that we just lay back and take it. As much as in a way I would like to follow Rabbi Akiva into martyrdom. You know, I'm sure the people who are held hostage are jealous of the people who were killed. Like in Dr. Strangelove, the living will envy the dead. These are evil, evil people, the Hamas, and Israel are the good guys. They're clearly the good guys in this battle. If anything, it's to their detriment. Like I said, they gave everything to Gaza. They gave them free food, free water, free electricity, free everything. And this is how they pay them back. There's no moral equivalency. There's nothing that Israel ever did to the Arabs to deserve this type of treatment. And here, you know, they welcomed and gave jobs to Arabs from Egypt and Jordan who wanted jobs. This is how they pay them back, and then they go and make up this fake identity of the Palestinians. Again, that's prophesied in the Bible. You angered me with a no God, so I punished you with a no people. Deuteronomy 32. But they didn't have to volunteer. There's something wrong. But they can also repent. Everyone can repent. They can convert, they can repent, they can whatever. But we have 7 laws of Noah. Thou shalt not murder. It's in the 10 Commandments, it's the 7 laws of Noah. This type of behavior is just pure evil. And the Torah spread through the world, through Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, to wipe this out. And these people calling themselves Muslims, they're not Muslims. They're not submitting to the will of God. They're submitting to their own lusts. And they're making the Islamic faith look bad. They're insulting Allah and they're insulting their prophet. They're always so upset if someone dare insult their prophet. They're insulting their prophet by the way they're acting. It's like we would call a Chilul Hashem. For them to claim that in the name of God, to cry out, God is the greatest, when you're killing innocent people who don't deserve to die, who did nothing wrong, never hurt you, who did nothing, who give you everything for free. That's the world. We hope in the schus of Rabbi Yitzchak and Sor Sasha Meberditchev schus Yigaleno that we should see the world be fixed and happy and healthy once again. Thank you for watching. God bless. Please like, share, and subscribe, comment, and we'll see you later.